As a competitive athlete, I've taken my heart rate up to a little bit over 200 beats per minute. 200 beats per minute is a pretty high heart rate. And at 200 beats per minute, I am very intense at that point. So intense meaning if I try to have a conversation when my heartbeat is at 200, 190, it's likely I'm going to talk fast and I'm going to talk loud and it's going to come off as aggressive. It's not intentional. It's literally what happens when your heart rate gets high and your body is now in a particular state where it's like that fight or flight concept. So at that point, I'm probably ready to fight. Not consciously, but just based on my heart rhythm. So my body is intense. So if we had a conversation, we could be talking about anything, and it's likely my energy would be pretty intense just based on heart rate. So now if we take this concept to, let's say, as cyclists, we go out and we ride. Some rides are competitive, some rides are social. If we're doing a social ride, then my goal is to keep my heart rate low, somewhere around 130 to 150. Now, on a social ride, there are moments when, there may be a hill climb, there could be wind, there could be potholes in the street, there could be things that trigger my heart rate to go up. So if my heart rate starts to go up, then of course, again, my body is going to respond naturally. So let's say, for example, we've been riding for 30 minutes and there's some hills and we've dodged some potholes and there have been some crazy drivers. And now my heart rate's at about 160. And at this point, certain riders are going a little bit faster, certain riders are getting frustrated, stuff going on, and I'm witnessing all of this. So my heart rate's continuing to climb. So let's say now my heart rate's at 170. At 170, that would be the equivalent of being in a competitive race. So my body, my energy naturally is going to go into race mode. It's not a conscious thing because we're not racing. The road is, the group is a social group. No one in here has a license to race. So I'm not racing because I'm a licensed racer. So I know I'm not racing, but my heart rate is feeling something different. So my energy may be like racer energy, but it's not my mind, my conscious state of mind in a place of, oh, this is a race. It's not a race. So it can be challenging sometimes in these environments where, it's considered to be social, but there are things that are triggering the heart rate that is sort of taking a person to a certain state. They are totally unaware of this state that they may be giving off to the group, but it's not a conscious state of mind where you think you're in a race, because if you race, you know what a race is, and you know that this is not it because you know the difference. So the speed will adjust also with the heart rate. So if my heart rate's at 170, when I press down on the pedals, I am going to have more power and I'm going to try and turn those cranks a little bit faster just off of instincts, because that's what we do. We're racers. We've been trained and conditioned to do certain things. It's autonomous. We're not mentally or consciously in control of these reactions. It's automatic, and that's what we train for. So our training and conditioning kind of puts us in a position where our bodies are going to respond naturally. We're not even thinking about it. So this is what's also important when it comes to, like, say, for example, a martial artist. If you're trained in martial arts, which I have trained in martial arts, one thing you learn to do, probably the most important thing you learn to do, is to stay calm. Because if a person takes your heart rate to a certain point, your body is automatically going into a particular mode where you could damage someone or cause yourself damage. Either way, the body is going to respond. So the key in martial arts that we're taught is to stay calm. The same with a police officer. You do not want to trigger a police officer, because once their heart rate goes to a certain point, they go into fight or flight mode, and you don't want to put an officer in that position, because they're just going to react based on their training. They're not always conscious and aware of what's going on. It's how they've been trained. Athletes are the same way. So the same in relationships. If you're in a relationship, you don't want to trigger your wife. You don't want to shoot her heart rate up where she's in fight or flight, and a wife doesn't want to trigger her husband up. Same concept. So the point of this is to just be aware of the fact that sending a person's heart rate to a certain point, they will likely start to behave in a way that relates to their heart rate. It's not always a conscious thing. So I suggest that everyone try and be friendly and nice to each other, and be conscious and aware of the fact that heart rate plays a huge part in how people act, talk, and just, communicate.